It took 22 and a half hours. I averaged a 12, 13-minute mile.
Oh, man.
I ran through a couple of snowstorms, but
Wow.
they never quit. They just didn't quit. But I was just too tired to care. So, things I try to do, I try to plan trips, and I just try to shift my focus so that I have other things to do, so that I can, in the very least, create happiness anchors.
Yeah.
So I have
Right.
things to focus on that at least change the story.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling. I have something positive, because you can't just stay in that negative place. Otherwise, you'll go crazy.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the greatest part about planning a trip, is you always have something to look forward to.
Right. So I'll plan a trip 6 months out, a year out, 2 years out. I have a piece of paper on my refrigerator that's been hanging there for 8 years with trips planned out,
Wow.
clear through 2024. It's got Antarctica on it.
That's awesome.
And it's, things with the kids. And we've been traveling, and we've been to 6 continents together, and we've been to 48 states, and got another trip coming.
You said you're going to live for you and Emily. Is that how you're doing that?
That absolutely is. One of the promises I made to Emily on our last day together, actually, the biggest promise I made to her was that, because she wasn't going to be able to ever leave the hospital,
Yeah.
I was going to live life for the both of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
And I told her that I would travel the world, and I would take her with me. That way, when I got to heaven, I would have adventures to tell her about, and she would have her adventures in heaven to tell me about, and we would have wonderful stories to share. So I have taken the girls to 20 different countries, 48 states.
That's awesome.
We've been to Mount Everest Base Camp. We've been all over what you would call Middle Earth. We've been to both islands in New Zealand. We've been to Angkor Wat. We've been to Malaysia. We've been just all over Northern Africa, Iceland, and we've hiked the Inca Trail, Machu Picchu. We still have to hit Antarctica.
Yeah.
My goal is to run a marathon on every continent, and actually Antarctica is 2023. So that's when we're headed down to the ice.
So do you have 6 done, and you're waiting on doing the 7th?
We have. Well, I haven't done all of the I haven't done all the marathons yet, but we have 6 continents visited.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My Mount Everest marathon is May 29th of 2021.
What does that
actually
involve?
Jeez.
That sounds...
That involves... It's going to be intense. Yeah. That actually involves about 9 days trekking from Mount Everest Base Camp, and then acclimatizing, and then running. It starts... The Everest Marathon starts at the Khumbu Icefall, and it's just 26.2 miles back from Khumbu Icefall back to the Namche Bazaar. So, just a full marathon. Starts at about 18,000 feet. So, highest marathon on Earth.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It'll be exciting. So I was going to do that one this year, but then COVID.
Yep.
So
got in the
now
way.
it's pushed off to next year. So, but so that's the plan. I want to do like the Petra Desert Marathon, and I'd like to climb Kilimanjaro, and just lots of things, lots of things for Emily.
Yeah.
And with Molly and with Katie, and just experience life with them and for her. So that's the plan. Hopefully she'll be proud of what I'm doing.
I bet she is. Man, I feel proud for what you're doing.
Yeah.
I hardly know you. It's
Thank
awesome. It's like, man, maybe I need to increase what I want to do. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Thank you. I'm just trying to kick it up a notch So I'm just trying to see how far I can go. I don't know. We'll see. The marathons, I don't know. We'll see.
So
We'll see how far I can go.
Another thing we try and find out on this podcast is how people are giving back to others. And so we already know about you living your life for you and your daughter, Emily. But what are you doing to give back to other people?
Yeah. Just what do you do to give back, that sense of service to others?
Well, actually, since about a year after Emily passed away, I've been volunteering at Akron Children's in their palliative care unit. I typically volunteer in the ICU, in the pediatric ICU, and I volunteer especially with the heart babies. And so I just go up and sit with the babies. Again, COVID's kind of put a damper on things lately, but
that Rona.
God,
I know, right? So, but I go up there, and I've been doing that for a long time, and
that's great.
That's been especially helpful. It's been healing. It's been neat to watch the transition with a lot of the staff members, because one of the nurses who actually took care of Emily on the evening she passed away went back and got her master's in nursing and is one of the directors now.
Oh, okay.
So she's actually helping to run the program. So it's pretty fantastic to work with her.
Yeah.
And then I'm also involved with a couple of, lightly involved, I should say. I hope to get more involved once COVID breaks again, with a couple of the Feeding the Homeless programs with the veterans around our community. So, because that's pretty near and dear to my heart, homeless programs especially. So, and veterans. So those are things that I'm doing. There are some bereaved parent programs, but I'm still actively involved with bereaved parent communities. And so I like to dabble in that and keep in that. And I do running for charities as much as I can. Basically, if it involves palliative care, the bereaved parents, running, or homelessness and veterans, it's something that I'm into. So
that's great. You definitely are giving back. That was it's awesome. You're a great person. You know, I think of kind of, you know, the stuff that you've gone through and everything, and how you can continue to go on and fight those demons. I like that you said that they don't just go away. I think people get this idea that once they go through the process and they talk about it and they're healed for good, and then they never have to ever think about it again. And it seems as if it's not really like that you have to continually fight these demons. Is that accurate? Do you feel like that's kind of what you're still doing?
Absolutely. You know, I always tell my girls, you know, life isn't a fairy tale. Not every dragon gets slain. You know, you don't win every battle.
Right.
And you just, you know, some dragons you have to continually fight, and, you know, you just have to always be ready with your sword.
Yeah.
And there are just some that you're going to have to fight every day for the rest of your life. The key is you get better at it with time, and eventually they just become an old enemy, and you become better and better at them with time.
Yeah.
So,
right.
You know, when I wake up at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m, because night is, you know, by far the worst, you know, I'll turn on Netflix, or I'll turn on Hulu, and, you know, I'll go downstairs. I won't lay in bed. I'll get up, I'll go downstairs, I'll do something. I'll get up and I'll go for a run. And, you know, if that's 3 a.m. and I'm outside, you know, and I won't sit there and on Mother's Day struggle. If I have to go run 100 miles, literally, if that's what keeps me alive, because this year that is literally what kept me alive, I will do it.
You're a fighter.
Yep.
You have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Do you feel like this would be like your advice to people that are struggling with PTSD, regardless of what has caused the PTSD? You feel like being active, you've chosen to do running and all that kind of stuff, keeping your mind occupied, keeping scheduled, things like that. Do you feel like that's some good advice for those out there, or would you like to add some other things?
I would say for me it is, but at the same time, I would say in my darkest moments, I wasn't able to reach out. And so, if you're in a place where you can't reach out, I would just pray that there's somebody who's able to reach into you.
Yeah.
If you can just signal enough for somebody to reach into you.
Yep.
And, we all need to be vigilant and buddy check. And,
sure.
For me, fortunately, being a member of that military community, I've got that. But for so many people who have PTSD, who aren't a member of that military community, they don't necessarily have that. So yeah, I would say staying active and maintaining that. But also, if you can visually put something down on paper, that way when your mind goes blank, when you have that PTSD moment and you can't remember what you need to do, because that's when you get in that fight or flight mode, that's what you're going to have. When you've got that something on paper, I think that's especially helpful.
Just little reminders and like what could that be, like motivational quotes or just what you're supposed to do, or what do you mean by that?
For me, it's a list of things that I can do.
Okay.
Therapists will call it a safety plan. For me, it's my list. It's drink your water, go for a run.
Mm-hmm.
It's text your friends.
Yeah.
It's a list of, and it's not a long list. It's a list of 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
It's go for a walk, text your friends, drink your water. Get up and wash your hands.
Yeah.
Right.
It's do something immediate. Wash your hands in cold water. Do something immediate to get yourself out of whatever cycle it is.
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
That has got your attention. Just break that attention and get yourself out of it. So,
I think that's great advice. That is great.
So I feel like people are going to listen to this and get inspired by you, but I want to know who you look to get inspiration yourself.
Oh, that's the easiest question you've asked. The easiest question you've asked. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. As a military person, it is so easy for me to sit here and say, I adore people like Dakota Meyer, and I adore people like Rob O'Neill. They're phenomenal warriors.
Yeah.
But it's my biggest inspiration on this earth is by far Tom O'Neill.
Okay.
And if you don't know who that is, it's actually Rob O'Neill's dad. And Rob O'Neill is the Navy SEAL who's responsible for firing the shots. Mm-hmm. So Tom O'Neill not only had his own successful career and his own successful life in his own right, he spent his entire life devoted to his family. He is the epitome of being the type of man who just inspires others. And in addition to all of that, he is the most badass ultra marathon runner on earth. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, as a marathon runner, he can run a sub-3 marathon, which is just incredible. But he's also
that is really good.
Yeah, he's lightning fast. So he can smoke anyone. But he's run a 50-mile and a 100-mile ultra marathon. But it's his inner strength and it's the support of what he does for his family that is just amazing to me. And when I think about Tom and I think about Rob and watching their interaction and what Rob has said on his interviews on Killing Bin Laden and Tom's influence